888-866-9886 or go to AdvantageReallyGroup.com, or I get to the Advantage Really hotline and bring in the new basketball coach at the University of UAB, Alabama, Birmingham, Andy Kennedy. Good morning, Coach. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm good. How are y'all?
We're good. Dad, you with us?
I am with you, yes.
All right, go ahead. Fire your first question at Andy. Since you wouldn't let him shoot enough, he wouldn't play for you. So
no, he didn't want to play for me. Congratulations, Andy.
Hey, thank you, Coach.
Great opportunity for you. I know you'll enjoy it. First thing for you is recruiting. There's no doubt about that, and I know that I know somewhat you know a team a little bit. Is it your feeling, and I think you've gotten one kid from the state of Alabama, to really stay home as much as you can, not saying that you're going to, because Georgia's got a lot of players. What you're thinking about how you're going to handle recruiting?
Well, Coach, this is such an unusual time in all of our lives. You know, we're living history, and each and every day is an adventure in and of itself. You know, typically when you take over a program, there's going to be a bit of a transition. But under these circumstances, it's, you know, you can throw the playbook out the window. When I got the job, all of the current players on UAB's roster were all already gone. You know, they had just entered spring break with the anticipation of coming back, and then this happens, and you're not allowed back on campus. So I've got to make relationships with the current players on our team. I've got to try to evaluate. Typically, you get on the court and, you know, start working, but now it's almost like you're watching a lot of tape. You're watching tape of your own team. You're trying to get a feel for not only the strengths and weaknesses of your current roster, who's coming, who's going, but also to try to figure out the best way to bolster that roster through recruiting. So you got to make some quick evaluations, and then you've got to depend upon a lot of the relationships that have been established. I've been a coach for 23 years, and a lot of relationships that you trust along the way to help kind of give you some guidance as to who's available and who you can be involved with. Obviously, the state of Alabama, as you and I both know, produces a number of really good players, and we certainly want to do our job and our due diligence to cover this state and cover it appropriately. But, you know, players come in all shapes and sizes, and a lot of times it'll just be based on, especially during this time, it'll be based on connections made throughout the course of my coaching career to try to help us continue to move this program forward.
And we're talking with Andy Kennedy. It is a unique time. So how do you do that to try to develop relationships with guys maybe some guys you knew maybe from your Ole Miss days through recruiting, but some guys you probably don't know at all. I mean, are you FaceTiming with them? Are you Zooming with them? What are you doing on a daily basis to kind of build that relationship?
Well, you know, you certainly are on the phone 20 hours a day, and you're trying to watch as much tape as possible. And, again, guys that you have dealt with in the past, both when I was an assistant at UAB in the 90s, through my time at Cincinnati, through my time at Ole Miss. You know, there are certain guys that you know, when they call you about a player, you know from past history that you can begin to trust that opinion, and then you just start doing your due diligence. You know, they just, as of yesterday, I think we all knew it was coming, but you know, the NCAA had put a dead period on any recruiting through April 15th. Well, obviously, when the government pushed it back, that we were going to continue this distancing through the end of the month, we knew that the NCAA was going to follow suit. Well, they came back yesterday and said that all recruiting on and off campus, all interaction face-to-face has been pushed back till the end of May. So now you've got kids that were sitting here waiting to hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks to take some visits and to start, you know, the recruiting process from that aspect. Now all of a sudden there's a panic in the air, and everybody's going to start making blind decisions. So you really got to put the work in quickly, because I think this thing's going to start unfolding in a very rapid pace.
No doubt.
Andy, you did such a great job at Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss a hard job. I thought Alabama was a hard job when I took it in some grades it was. We got it a little bit better, and you got Ole Miss a lot better. As I've been out of coaching a long time, I look back at things I wish I had done. Defenses I'd played, or this I'd done, handled things differently. have you gone through that process a little bit mentally as to maybe, I'm not asking you if you're going to play different because I don't, doesn't really make any difference to me how you play particularly, but have you kind of gone through that process a little bit with maybe changing a little bit of things like I have gone through all my years of being out of coaching?
Absolutely, Coach. Yeah, absolutely. And first off, I appreciate the compliment. You are one of the best that has ever done it in the history of the SEC. Your numbers speak to that, and you've stood the test of time. And so I believe in what Bill Parcells always said: you are what your numbers say you are, and your numbers say that you had a Hall of Fame career. I had a good run at Ole Miss, 12 years leading the program in my home state in the Southeastern Conference. What a blessing. The 2 years that I've been out of it doing the television stuff, and Coach, you know this because you've done that as well, but when you're watching tape, when you're watching games, even if you're watching an NBA game and you know, once your season is over, as a coach, you are watching it through the critical lens of being a coach, and you're thinking, how would we run this, or how would we guard that?
Yeah.
What would our matchups be? You're looking at it specifically as it relates to your current situation. So when I became a broadcaster, I got a 30,000-foot view of, you know, I just looked at the game differently. I was just watching, trying to learn, trying to see, well, if I get back in, maybe I could, you know, put some semblance of this action in or that. I also got the opportunity. People don't understand, when you were coaching at Alabama for 100 years, you never went to anybody else's practice except the ones that you were involved in. You know, Auburn's not, you know, Sonny, it's as good a friends as you and Sonny was. He wasn't inviting you down there to watch his practice.
No,
no.
I wasn't going to learn anything anyway.
But, you know, as a coach, you're only involved in your own situation. So think about all the practices that I have been to the last 2 years, and the coaches from John Calipari to Bruce Pearl to Nate Oates. Everybody has been tremendous in allowing me access. So I got to see how they practiced, how they prepared, how they do their film, how they do this, how they do that. All of those things were invaluable for me. So I certainly have used the 2 years away to reflect, to learn, and to have a game plan that I hope to be able to implement moving forward.
I'd love to talk to you about that off the air, just kind of what you saw. You know, some practice you think this guy's probably hard-nosed, this guy's probably laid back, but when you get into
you'd be amazed, man.
I would
love
love to have that conversation. I know you don't want to call anybody out
I can't do that. I can't do that on the air, but I would love to tell you, you know, some of the things that you go in with this conception of a certain coach, he's this, he's that, then you see it and you're like, man, that ain't what I expected. And some guys, you know, you walk out of there thinking, wow, this isn't what I expected either. So it was incredibly informative on a number of levels.
I watched your press conference. I thought one of the great things that you said, and it's true, you know, when you left Ole Miss, you came back to Alabama, and you're living in the Birmingham area, and you did it for 2 years. And I know you and Tom Hart built a great relationship, and you did TV, but I thought that was important. Like, you're taking the UAB job. You could have, you had enough money. You could have gone and lived anywhere, but coming back to this state was important to you. Just kind of talk about that for a minute.
Well, when my deal ended at Ole Miss in March of 2018, I was really fortunate as it related to timing. I got two daughters. One of them, Megan, is in her last semester of getting her MBA at Stanford, and my youngest, Caitlin, is a sophomore at Auburn. Well, when my deal ended in March, my youngest daughter, Caitlin, was a senior in high school. She graduated in May. So we were able to move immediately. So we moved to Birmingham in June. And again, at the time, I'd had some conversations with ESPN, but nothing was contracted. So I didn't really know what I was going to do next, but I knew where I wanted to do it because Birmingham's always been my home away from home. I've said this many times, and I'm not just blowing smoke because now I'm the coach at UAB, but I think it's the most underrated city in all of America. It's a great town with great people, centrally located. And so we came back here. I did my TV stuff right out of Birmingham. I was able to get accomplished what I needed to get accomplished, and then this opportunity arises, and I don't even have to move. I can't imagine. This is difficult enough under these circumstances, taking over a program and trying to get your arms around hiring a staff and recruiting players and all of the things that come along with it when you really can't have any human interaction. But I can't imagine doing this if I wasn't already in Birmingham. Bryce Drew, a friend of mine, was at Vanderbilt. He stayed in Nashville for some of the same reasons. He had kids in school, so he didn't move after his Vanderbilt situation ended. He just gets the Grand Canyon job in Phoenix. Now, can you imagine doing all the things that I just tried to describe that I'm trying to do, but also trying to move my family from Nashville to Phoenix under these times? I can't imagine that.
Not at all, Dad.
Well, I think you're going to do great. I think it's going to be an interesting, a little bit like when I was at Alabama and Sonny and Gene were at those two schools. Style of play, I've kind of asked it already. Let me change that. Let's leave out the scenario of Alabama UAB. I don't want to get into that with you. I'm not interested in that. I've gone through that myself. But schedule-wise, schedule-wise, so I don't want to discuss that with you. There's no point in that. Schedule-wise, besides that, I would imagine that you want to play some people that bring in some fans, but not too many of them. I was a schedule freak. I was very, very careful about who I scheduled.
Coach. I'm from the mindset of I did this at Ole Miss. Again, I was there 12 years. The last year, notwithstanding, where the wheels fell off. My first 11 years there, we always finished with an RPI in the top 100, and that was because we were very aggressive in our non-league. I knew at Ole Miss I could not schedule like some in that league can and get a bunch of home games and then do what I got to do in the league. I had to be aggressive, and at UAB, I'm going to take the same philosophy. You know, scheduling is not an exact science by any means. Sometimes you think teams are not that good, and they end up being good. Sometimes you schedule a name thinking they're going to be good. They have a bad year. So it's certainly an inexact science, but I'm going to be as aggressive as possible to try to get quality opponents on our schedule. And if that means having to go on the road more times than I would like, I think that's what we have to do at UAB. And I'm working on that as we speak. I inherited some of the schedule for the upcoming season, as you can imagine, just based on the timing. But sure. You know, I've got a lot of friends in this business, from Bob Huggins to Frank Martin to Rick Barnes to Ben Howland, and you know, all of those guys have been open to conversations about starting series, and you know, having teams like that come into Bartow Arena, I think would energize our fan base.
Andy, I think you should hire Dad to come over and do your schedule.
No, I was thinking he'd be my media relations director.
Well, I don't know about that, but your schedule. No, you may be playing a lot of 300 teams in the RPI, but you're gonna win a lot of games if he does your schedule. Dad didn't want to ask the question, Andy, but I will. You know, I understood why Alabama didn't play UAB when he had the job. I get it, and Coach Bryant told him not to. That's enough right there. You don't have to get to the other point. But my question is, you know, it's a football state, let's be honest, but there's a lot of people that love basketball in this state. I think there's room for both. Is there a place to maybe have I don't know if it's a round-robin deal or tournament, maybe do it right there in Birmingham when they get the new arena done with Auburn, UAB, Alabama, and Sanford or something like that?
I think you're right. Barry. I mean, we're just in different times. I mean, I understand it too. When Coach Sanderson and Coach Bartow were there, and Coach Bartow was trying to start this thing, you got, you know, the legend over here saying, you know, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, in reference to Bear Bryant. But we're in different times now.
Yeah.
If UAB, if we could work through in time and come to a time and place where, you know, UAB and Auburn have played for years. I'm hopeful that we can get that back in some form or fashion. UAB and Alabama have never really played, but again, I just think we're at a different phase of life now as it relates to that. If UAB was to beat Alabama in basketball, it ain't going to change Alabama basketball one bit. They're still Alabama. They're still in the SEC. They're still going to get great players. They're still going to win their games.
Right.
I just think I think things have changed. Martin Newton, son of the great C.M. Newton, who's over as the athletic director at Sanford. I have no problem, and I know a lot of people say, man, I can't believe, why would you play Sanford? I have no problem in doing that. I think that's good for basketball in the city. We're 15 minutes apart. Let's get on a bus, go over there and play. They come over there and play. Why wouldn't we do that? I'm trying to restart the South Alabama series. The glory days for both programs, both South Alabama and UAB, were when we were both playing each other in the old Sun Belt. So yeah, I'm looking into all of those things just to try to generate, because you guys know, you said it, Barry, and it's no fault of anything other than it is what it is. In November and December, people are going to concentrate on football, so you need to bring whatever you have to do to bring positive attention to your program and scheduling. People, once the calendar turns over into January, they'll start focusing on college basketball, and that's when you're in the heart of your league schedule. And obviously, we don't control that, but that's when we want to be able to be playing for championships. That's the goal. That's the reason I came here. I want to compete for Conference USA championship each and every year, and we're working daily towards that.
Andy, how'd you like TV? You and Tom, y'all were a perfect combination. You guys kind of picked on each other. It was really enjoyable to watch. So I think it's a loss for the SEC network for sure. But
Tom Hart's, he's a card. Listen, I had a great time.
Yeah.
I worked with a number of different people, but Tom and I kind of found our partnership and had a lot of fun of watching ball and talking ball, and we're able to do a bunch of great games. You know, Coach, when you get done coaching, coaches like to coach. And so they used to tell me, you know, well, Coach, I don't know why you wouldn't stay at this TV. You're good at it. And we got a plan for you, and we're the worldwide leader, and they pay you a bunch of money not to work a whole lot. I mean, why would you want to give that up? You don't ever lose a game. And I said, well, you don't ever win one either. You know, I kind of like that grind, and losing comes with it sometimes, but you know, we're going to win more than we lose. So, in my opinion, I like those wins. I like the competition. I like the process. And I just miss that. If I was a little older, I would probably have just ridden it in and done the TV world. But I wanted another run at it. I think I'm in the prime of my coaching career, and I'm looking forward to leading my alma mater.
That anything else for Andy? We got to let him go.
No, nothing. I appreciate him being on. Hope he does well. I'll probably stop by there and keep my nose out of his business. Stop by there and visit with him sometime. So
Coach, I need you to come by every once in a while. When they see you, they'll think I got a sunny disposition.
Yeah,
no
doubt. They'll think you're Mr. Sunshine.
They'll think I'm Mr. Sunshine.
Dad, I'll tell you what. When we get through, you give me about 10 schools he should schedule, and I'll text it to Andy and let him get to work on that.
That's right.
I'll stay out of Andy's business. I had hard enough coaching my team. I don't coach anybody else's.
Andy, we appreciate you, man. If we can ever help you, let you know. Thank you. All right.